Hello, everyone. Welcome to an action-packed portable edition of ARG Presents. I am Android Aaron, joined by a man who takes the phrase, reach out and touch someone, to its most violent extremes. I give you the Brent.
Hey, if you're not touching someone with force, what's the point?
Oh, dear. No comment there, sir. No comment there. So, if you joined us last week, and a few of you did, we spun,
We thank both of you that showed up.
I can't believe that that particular machine did not get over. It's a Socrates, for God's sakes. Anyway, we did spin the wheel last week, for those of you that missed it, and we made an interesting deal this week, Brentster. We're going to take a look at games that appear on the Android platform. Now,
I got the system right here.
oh man, me too, dude. Yeah, we can show it off, just like they did last week. Look, everybody. So the Android platform, this is not something that I usually dabble in gaming-wise, Brent, but it's turned out to be an amazing gaming platform over the years. That's come a long way, and you've sort of been into it a lot longer than me.
Oh, certainly. I have actually played games on the phone since I had a phone that was able to play games, even before the Android platform on like the Nokia devices and stuff like that. And someday, I'm hoping that we are able to play some of those Nokia games, not necessarily from the U.S., but some of the games they had over in Japan were incredible games, and I really want to showcase those at some point. But today we have Android games, and it's amazing some of the good and bad that can come from touch controls and tilt controls and augmented reality, all the things that the phone can bring. Some people totally get it right, and other people fail so hard it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think you've got something there. And when you get back to the Nokia stuff, I remember distinctly getting a cell phone, the very first one I had, and how amazing and Star Trek like it was. I'm still amazed by it to a certain degree, but it's unbelievable that you can do the stuff you can. But gaming was not the best. I remember playing like Uno. I had a shareware version of Uno I played a lot on the old Nokia back in the day. And I think that I had a version of Snake that would appear on some of these phones. But for the most part, I would call the game subpar. And then you had the era of the smartphone come around, Brent. And when that happened, you really got a lot more playability. The graphic ability raised greatly. The sound was good. It's quite remarkable how far it's came from those early days with the Nokia phones that we've developed into a platform that really doesn't even need a phone anymore, does it?
Well, and here's something you have to understand.
Yeah.
What we had in the United States during those early phone days is radically different than what some of the other parts of the world had. I mean, there are some games out there for early phone systems that are staggeringly good. I'm talking when you're hitting the 1 through 9 on your phone using the numbers,
Yeah.
no touchscreen involved. But something that smartphones really did was it was able to pull multiple people together with its always online capabilities, which made multiplayer games happen. Before that, you really didn't have a whole lot of multiplayer games on the pre-smartphone day phones. But now you have it all over the place. And even if it's just a simple high score table, all the way up as complex as like RTS games, the smartphone really made that happen. And when you talk about smartphones, you're really only talking about two platforms, and that's the iOS and the Android, both which are incredibly capable. The only real benefit from the Android stuff is I'm not going to say it's more user-friendly to develop for, but it's more available to develop for. And really, that's not even true anymore. iOS has really opened up their doors to development where they were kind of very closed in the beginning. That's not so much the case anymore. But We're talking about Android games today, and some of the most fun I've had in recent times have been on Android games. And I'm a big computer game player, and you've also got your emulators on Androids now, so you can play all your NES, Super NES, get a Bluetooth controller, and really go to town with it. Uh,
It's
the
become the world's largest game console, really.
Absolutely.
We were myself and the boat were just talking about this. The money that generates from portable gaming and from Android gaming is staggering, and it's multiples larger than what your traditional home video game market generates. And some of that you could also boil down to the in-app purchasing, which is quite often very prevalent in these sorts of games.
Yeah, and I want to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Two other real big positives for smartphones. One, you can now play your computer games, your big souped-up computers, and just use your phone as a mobile screen, where it's streaming the data to you and taking the inputs that you put on your phone and telling your computer what to do, and then you get the video feedback. Remote play, I've done it before on my phone. It's available for the Steam platform, and it's good. It's not great yet. I don't think speeds have quite gotten there for everything, but it's kind of amazing that you can take, your most cutting edge video games from your computer and play them on your phone remotely.
Yeah.
It's something that would have never happened back in the day.
It's funny. I never thought, when the Android platform came around, I'm happy that there's competition in that area. And I'm not the biggest Apple fan, but I knew that mobile gaming had gotten pretty good, But I will say, looking through the games this week, I really was blown away by the capabilities of the platform and the abilities of a little simple smartphone or maybe an Android laptop or whatnot. It's quite remarkable, the graphically, and also it's not just the fact that they've sort of come into their own graphically and come into their own sound wise, whatever. But the game design is real unusual. I think you've got a lot of real creative, probably not standard game developer types that are making games for it. They're thinking outside the box, and I think it's a. I may have not given this genre enough credit. I can tell you when this came up in the wheel last week, I was like, oh, here we go. But I have to say I've done a 180, Brent. I guess is what I'm saying on this.
Another thing that Android and mobile gaming has done, it has allowed gaming to be done in public, and it's just accepted.
Yeah, I think you're right.
When you've just had your portable systems, your Game Boys, your Game Gear, stuff like that, you saw kids playing them in public, and everyone thought that was okay and fun. But now you'll see every age group on their phone playing a game while they're waiting to see a doctor, while they're on the bus, on a plane, anywhere that you can sit down for a moment. You'll have all age groups of all sexes and all races playing games. And that would have never been possible, in my opinion, never been possible without the mobile platform. Because portability just doesn't cut it. When you have to have a specific thing for games, no matter what is done, there's always going to be a stigma that it's a kid's thing. But when it was put onto phones and an adult had a phone, an adult had 10 minutes to kill, and they started looking at games, that's really broadened the audience a little bit.
I think you're onto something. It's funny, gaming has sort of become full circle from the 70s, where you would have adults in business suits and people that were blue-collar workers going into the arcades to play. Now I think everyone enjoys a game. It's just a matter of accessibility, how much time they've got, and how convenient it is. And you're right, the Android and iOS both, they fit the bill in that category. It's like everyone has a small portable compatible machine in their back pocket all the time. It worked out great.
Yep.
So with that in mind, we were tasked with choosing 2 games from just the universe. It's a confusing universe too, I might add, but a universe of Android games. I have been on vacation all week, so I was a little worried. So I asked for some suggestions in our Discord. Please come and join our Discord. By the way, we'd love to have you. And our good buddy Rushi sent me over one that I really enjoyed, so that's the one I ended up choosing this week. And I went with Doodle Jump, Brent. Now, I can tell you a few days ago, not even heard of Doodle Jump, but apparently I've been laboring in the dark for a decade because Doodle Jump was a runaway success. It's been around and released on a million platforms over the years, but I'd never heard of this game and certainly never played it. So, Doodle Jump, a game that was developed by 2, I think they were Croatian brothers, Igor and Marko Punjak from Croatia, put this game together. It was published by an outfit called Llama Sky, which I believe is their outfit. It's funny, I looked to see what else that Llama Sky had done, and they really have only done variants of this game, plus they've also done a game called Animatch, which is like a real simple matching game. But the company, I guess, much like, say, someone that would make Angry Birds, something, they didn't need any other titles to make the big bucks because this thing has generated a lot of money. This originally released way back. I mean, I can't believe how old this thing is. This thing came out on the iOS OS in April of 2009, which is amazing.
I knew it was over a decade old.
And it came out in March of 2010 on the Android. This thing's been released on the Android, the iOS, of course, Symbian, BlackBerry. That's how old it is. It got a BlackBerry release. Java. It's on Xbox 360, the Windows Phone, the DS, the 3DS. A lot of crates. It even got an arcade redemption release, Brent.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you. I know you play a lot of stuff. Have you ever seen this in the arcade?
Absolutely. This is one they have at Dave & Buster's.
Really?
Yep.
That's great. You have to tell us about that one. So it's funny. I just looked into the history of this game a little bit to see how this came about, And so basically, it happened. These 2 brothers, one was living in New York, Igor, and they wanted to work on something to make some money because they're the other brother was working in Croatia and was making $1,000 a month. He was getting, in Croatian money, they needed to make some bucks, and they saw the ability to program these apps as a way to make a few extra bucks. So many people. Another way that the Android has come full circle is you've got the bedroom programmer is back in force, and they're making the big money because whereas if you're in the UK and you're making in 1983 or whatever, you're making stuff for the Spectrum, you've got a little limited audience. With this, you've got a worldwide audience, and you've got worldwide distribution, all the time, once you get accepted. And trust me, getting accepted is no difficult task from what I saw. But anyway, so these guys came up with something I've actually heard of. I hadn't thought about it for years. The 2 brothers the first thing they ever did was this thing called bubble wrap. If you remember that, it's simulated popping bubble wrap. That was, and I remember this from back then. I don't know if I saw it on TV, but apparently that was something of a success since I remember it from a portable phone. So once they got that, and they were like, well, we gotta get something a little bit better going, and so they moved on. They've done 40 or so apps. Okay, so it's not like this was their first rodeo, but eventually they developed the game Doodle Jump, and it became a runaway hit when it was released. It was literally, they said it was. I think they said the first 2 months it was getting like 25,000 downloads a day or some ludicrous number. They made millions of dollars. They were one of the biggest early like success stories in the iOS market. I mean, Doodle Jump went crazy, and so of course a game like Doodle Jump, you can port that to pretty easily, and so it didn't take them long to port this game over to the Android format. So what is this game? Well, it's the simplest little game, Brent. You play the Doodle Jumper, and he's a little like four-legged guy. And by the way, this was a doodle that they made. So that if you're wondering, like on a napkin or something, they doodled this guy up, and that's where he came from. Doodle Jumper is a game where you jump on top of little platforms, you bounce, and your goal is to keep going up and never down. If you fall off the screen, the game's over. Now the game scrolls upward. So as you jump up, the game keeps scrolling up endlessly, and your job is just to make sure you don't ever jump down and hit nothing, because when you do that, the game's over. It's not like all the previous platforms you jumped on are still there, because they're gone. Along the way, I should mention, this is all done on what looks like graph paper, which is part of the charm, because even occasionally you'll come across the hole in the graph paper, where they've it looks just like someone doodled this down, and it's actually it sounds like it might be kind of hokey, but it's actually sort of endearing, isn't it, Brent?
Yeah, it's charming. It's charming.
So the Doodle Jumper has a nose sort of like a longer version of Cubert's nose. In fact, if you took Cubert and added a bunch of legs and turned them green, you would have the Doodle Jumper. I mean, that's basically what he is. He's got the long, and also, much like Cubert was going to do, ended up losing the ability. The Doodle Jumper has gained the ability to shoot missile weapons out of his nose.
Yep, and projectiles from the nose.
He can shoot from the nose, and so this comes in to play whenever you encounter bad guys. So as you jump through this game, you're going to encounter things along your way that will, I guess, sort of aid you or hinder you, depending on what you're doing. Little springs. There's trampolines. There's one of those propeller hats. There's also
beanies. Yep.
There's a jetpack. And so when you jump on these things, you get whatever that thing is. So if you jump on the spring, for example, you'll bounce up, higher than you would normally jump. If you jump on a trampoline, your guy will kind of tumble straight up and spin around and land. And if you get the jetpack, you really go up. You really, and the hat. And there are very good sound effects that come along with it that come into play. There's also, of course, we mentioned that you can shoot. Well, if you can shoot, there's going to be some enemies there. When enemies are coming on the screen, the game will make sort of a noise. I don't know, like a didgeridoo or something in there, Brent.
Some kind of ominous.
Yeah, and then
type of warning.
And then you'll know of enemies coming. Now the enemies can be dispatched in a couple ways. You can shoot them, and to shoot them on the Android version, you sort of touch the screen where the enemy is, and that'll auto aim, and you can shoot that way. It works pretty well. He can also jump on them, which works well. Also, occasionally, if you don't want to fool with the enemy, you'll see a thing that gives you a shield, and you can put that on and jump up.
And you can always just avoid the enemy as well.
Right, you can just avoid
sometimes.
Them. Now, the thing we haven't touched on is how Doodle Jumper is controlled, and this is the brilliant bit of this thing. It uses your phone's ability to have like that liquid switch in it, where you can just sort of tilt the phone back and forth, the Mercury switch, and this moves the Doodle Jumper back and forth, and that's how you got him up. So you're actually not even touching the screen or any controls unless you are shooting. All you're doing is just tilting your phone back and forth. Of
course, it's gyros, not
right, but it's a
Mercury switches.
Well, it's like a Wii remote, the thing you've got in your phone, and it works. Listen, when I first loaded this thing up, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. This is going to be a little sketchy, but dadgummit, it worked great, man. I was very impressed with your control. He can also jump off the screen, and he just comes back on the other side. So the screen it wraps around, which that comes into your strategy as you get higher up. As you move up in this game, you'll get some different issues. There are these brown platforms that float around they look them. I call them breadsticks because when you step on them
Yeah.
they break in half. And you'll also come across these platforms they're kind of like they're blue and they move, and so you basically have to jump on a moving platform and eventually you have to move them yourself. There's sort of an achievement element to this game. If you want to go down that road, jump on 5 enemies with little goals.
Missions, yeah.
As you get higher, like Luke did better at this than I did. By the way, Luke is hopelessly addicted to this now. My son. We were coming back from jiu-jitsu. I was like, hey, I'm playing this new game. You want to try it? He goes, no. I'm like, wait a minute. You haven't even looked at it yet. He's like, no, I don't want to play it. I don't want to play your dad games. I'm like, listen, this is a Luke game. So he played this. He goes, well, I got to go get this. And he went and downloaded it for his phone after he crushed my high score. There are people, I think the best I did was around, and don't laugh, mind you, because again, this is sort of foreign to me. I did around 26 to 30K on this. Which it probably isn't super high. But the boy crushed that high score and got way higher and saw a whole different set of different types of bad guys and different obstacles. I was real impressed. I mean, there's definitely progression in it as you move up. You get more enemies. And one thing you also get are less platforms. You get a lot less platforms in it than you would back in the day. Brent, what would you rate this? I mean, where do you put this? Had you played this before? I'm assuming you'd heard of it since you're more in the scene than I am. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I played this way back in the day, and played it again this week to kind of refresh myself on it. I was never a huge Doodle Jump fan because of the controls. While the tilt controls work really well, I mean they're spot on. They're just not something I enjoy. That doesn't make them bad, and I'm not saying they're bad. They're just not for me. However, I can appreciate that the simplicity of the game is its biggest selling point. You know what you have to do before you start. I mean, as soon as you see those platforms and you jump on them and you start heading up, it's all just intuitive what you need to do. And the tilt controls, for someone who, is not into gaming, it's actually very responsive. You never feel like you don't have control. Falling on the platforms using the tilt controls, very natural. The shooting element, I don't remember from when I played this before. I personally don't think it really adds anything, because I kind of feel like the joy of this game is just being able to set back, very little movement on your phone, and you're trying to get this guy higher and higher. I'm not much better at it than you are. I'm sure if I sat down, but although I did improve, I noticed every time I played, I got a little bit farther, which is a nice feeling. It's nice to have that feeling of progression. But I didn't spend a ton of time with this either. I think probably throughout the week, in total, I only played it about an hour. And that's about what you're going to get from this game. You don't sit down and play this for 5 or 6 hours. You play it, you play a game. Usually a game takes between 3 to 5 minutes. And then you say, okay, that was fun. I'll play it again later. At least that was for me. I never felt compelled to play it over and over and over and over, even though it was fun to try to beat my own high score. And all of this, I can't stress this enough, I recognize that Doodle Jump, in its simplicity, is a very well-designed and fun game. It's just not a game that I particularly enjoy.
I think looking at this game, you could instantly tell why it was a big seller. All right.
Yeah. It's cute. It's easy.
Instantly accessible. Okay. Yeah. To any age. Okay. It's cute. Plus, it's perfect for when you've got 2 minutes to kill. And so many of the great phone games, at least the ones I know about, that's how they do it. Like an Angry Birds is another good example of something you can get in there and play a level of that one quick and get some enjoyment. And this thing's the same way. The funny thing about this one is, though, I can see times where you've got time for a quick game, and then you're suddenly doing great. Because I watched a video of a guy get like 1,000,000 points. I mean, these games can stretch on if you're a good hand, and you
Yeah,
get up.
once you get good, the games do
Yeah,
take
and you get
forever.
up to
Yeah.
points where like you've got disappearing platforms and different types of crazy stuff falling off on the screen, and that sort of stuff. So I mean, it gets quite a bit more difficult. But I mean, if you're a really good hand, you can. And I was the same way. I got better at it as I went. There are several flavors of this. There you've got a Halloween, Christmas, a rainforest, soccer, underwater, Easter, ice blizzard. There's a retro version, which that's kind of funny. A ninja version, a pirate version. It's like, trust me, they went to work on. They were like, what? How can we skin this in every conceivable way? And they did. I didn't try any of them. I just know that they're there. Well, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, I guess, which is the cost. Now, when I downloaded this for free, and by the way, this game being out for so long, I'm sure it's been re-uploaded and changed ad nauseum. You're talking about the shooting. Like I have no point of reference because I've just played it. But if the shooting isn't something that's always been there, I wouldn't know. But one thing that happens is you get to play your game, and then in between game, when you die, you get a ad. Okay, now you don't have to do that. You can buy the app. It's that sort of thing, and you can actually buy this app right now at least. I don't know if it's always been like this. I doubt it, but it's only $1. That's 99 cents, which is a good bargain, frankly. Something else about these mobile games is often they're really reasonably priced. Especially these older ones, you can get them real cheap. And so I think this is one I would probably register. In fact, I probably will. This one's going to stay on my phone because, like I said, it's perfect for like I was playing games with the boys last night on Steam, and while I was waiting for them to pick their characters and load the game up, I just hopped on this and played a couple rounds. It's exactly what it's meant for. It's just something to play and have some good, clean fun, and have a little bit of enjoyment before whatever else you've got to do. So overall,
Yeah, I do believe, Aaron, this has always been $1. I think that's been one of the highlights of the Dollar Club, because even back in the day, apps were trying to shoot for more.
Yeah, it's a good deal at $1. That's for sure.
I personally think that, yeah, it is worth $1. If this is if you play this for a little bit and you like it, drop the dollar.
Yeah.
I think the ads in this are fair compared to a lot of mobile games. I mean, you play, you die, you basically watch an ad to get another life. It doesn't interrupt your game, at least not that I've ever seen. It just says, well, okay, you died, watch your ad, and you can play again. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I think that is a fair way to do ads. And really, we should talk about this for just a second, Aaron. Yeah. In mobile games, you really have three flavors of how a developer gets ad revenue. And I am a big believer in you have to support what you like or that thing is going to go away. Or it's never going to get developed, into something bigger and better. So I am someone who really supports developers. I have made hundreds of dollars of purchase on mobile games throughout the years. When I find a game that catches my interest or I think they have done something new, I think they've done something innovative, I am quick to give them some love, give them $1, $5, usually whatever they're asking for. The problem with some of these mobile games is they will hit you for ads over and over and over, and that is their business model, is to cram as many ads down your throat that they can while they've got your attention. And sometimes you might play a game where the level is 15 seconds long, and then you get hit with an unskippable ad in between. And I know why they do it. They feel like they're only going to have your attention for, maybe 6 or 7 minutes, and they want to get as much money from you as they can. I hate that. I also hate when a game says, you know what, we're going to reward you by watching this ad. I like that, but then the reward is not what they promised. They bait and switch you. That's something that's coming up more and more in mobile games, or at least what I'm experiencing. The other model is you play a demo of the game, and then you can make a purchase to unlock the full game. This is my preferred method of how mobile games get their money. It's very old school. You get to play the game, you get to see what you're getting yourself into, and then you get to make the decision. Are you going to purchase it, reward the developer for their hard work, or is this not for you and you're going to move on? That's awesome. I think that's the way all gaming should be. The third way is the microtransactions of games. Either you pay the microtransaction and you get a little boost, maybe you get a better weapon, or maybe it's a massively multiplayer game and you're buying supplies or advantages over your opponents. I don't like microtransactions in games, but if you have a free game and then you have microtransactions in your game, I'm okay with that. I don't like random microtransaction loot boxes, the loot box mechanic. I'm against that. I don't think that you should have to experience random chance to play a game. I think that's a horrible mechanic, and I know it's getting outlawed all across the globe, and eventually, hopefully, that mechanic is just gone. But if some people really hate microtransactions, but if the game is free and then there are microtransactions in the game, I don't have a problem with that. Now, if the game is a set amount of price and then you have to buy microtransactions, I'm not talking DLC, I'm talking microtransactions to actually play the game past the point we've already bought it, I think that's double dipping. I think that's wrong.
Well,
How many mobile games have you bought in your days, Aaron?
counting.
Do you have any idea how much you've spent?
Oh yeah, I've got a real good idea. No dollars. That's not true.
Really?
Well, the boy plays Pokemon Go, and so I think on occasion I've had to buy like Pokeballs, and I just signed him up for that big Pokemon weekend, a while back, where if you sign up for the event, you get extra cool Pokemons that weekend or whatever. He loved it. I don't know, but in terms of games that I've bought, no, I don't think I've ever bought. I'm trying to think if I've ever bought any. I don't think I may have bought. I take that back. I may have bought a game for the VR, but I think I did do that. In fact, for this show, I did do that because we played that. That was an airplane game I bought.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I can count. It was under $10 I've ever spent. It's not because everyone knows my rep, but I mean, it's not because I didn't really pirate anything. I don't have a open jailbroken device. Just don't play that many. But I will say, Doodle Jump, both these games I will probably end up buying. It's not because I'm a great guy. It's just that I don't want to see the ads, or in this game, and the other game we'll get into. But I don't mind. It's easier for even a cheap bum like me to spend $1 on a game that I'm going to play than I was spending 30 or 40 or $50 on a game. So it's sort of like the Steam thing, where it's like if the prices get cheap enough, even old pirate Bill will cut his losses and just pay the $8 or whatever. But this one I think is definitely worth $1. I mean, there's no at $1 just to get rid of the ads. Dude, that's a heck of a bargain. I mean, not to mention these guys. You're right. I mean, to a certain degree, when they make a great game, you got to pay these suckers.
Absolutely.
This game got it has a rating of 85% on game rankings. At least that's the rating of Wiki has listed. I didn't realize how popular this game was. Wiki has a big list of references to this game on all kinds of TV shows, and so again, if it was referenced to me before, I didn't know what it was, but apparently it's been referenced quite a bit. Who knew that this was ingrained in our culture, and I never heard of it, so I was behind the times. But I can't say enough about this one. It's the kind of games I like. Simple, fun, that you pick right up on. It's instantly playable, and you're good to go. So I give this one the high sign. Britton, I think even if though you weren't super impressed with it, you would probably recommend it as well. Yeah, more or less. So that was Doodle Bug, a good game.
Or Doodle Jump if you want to name it by its actual game.
Pay $1 for this thing. Help the Croatian brothers put another wing on their house. I'm sure they're living pretty good over there. So, Brent, you brought a completely different game to the table this week. And again, I'd never played this one as well. Brent, what did you bring around?
I have been dying to get this game on this show. It is the whole reason why I made the Androids Games pie piece.
Okay.
And that is Retro Bowl.
Retro Bowl.
Yes. Retro Bowl is made by New Star Games. They are most famous for their New Star soccer games. This is a UK outfit, Aaron. And
really?
Yes. They started out doing soccer simulators, different type of soccer games, and they have actually won a BAFTA, which is the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. They won an award for their soccer game.
Huh.
And the creator of this, Simon Red, said, "You know what? I've got soccer down. You know, we've made these soccer games. Everybody loves them, but I really want to tackle American football."
I see what you did there.
And that's what he did. He said, "You know what? I'm going to make a game that is in the same vein of Super Techno Bowl from back on the Nintendo era, and I'm going to use that style of graphics, and I'm going to put my little twist on it, you know, stuff that he's learned over the years, and thus Retro Bowl was born." And let me tell you something. When I stumbled across this back in March, I have been playing it like crazy ever since. This is a American football game where you play as both the coach / quarterback. And what I mean by that is there are segments where before the games, you know, you are making the decisions on your roster and what stars you're going to keep. You know, you don't pick all of your players. You're just working on your stars. You've got your base team who has stats, and you have your stars who are good at different things. And you also choose things like, are you going to upgrade your training facilities so your guys get better faster? Are you going to update your fitness facilities so they don't get as injured as much? And if they are injured, they get better faster. Or your stadium, which boosts your fandom. So if you've got more fans, you earn more kudos as you go, which is basically the in-game currency money. You make those decisions, and it's you know, if you're going to fire people, how you're going to discipline people when they get into trouble. You know, maybe your quarterback was out drinking all night, you know, and you have to make the decision. Are you going to punish him and make him lose reputation and make him sadder, basically? Or are you going to let it go? But then your team is like, if you let it go, your team's like, that guy can do anything. And then the whole morale of the team goes down. So that's all of the before the game action. And you have a draft at the beginning of the season. When you actually get into the game, you're not the coach anymore. Now you're playing the quarterback. And the quarterback gets out there and he runs the play he is told to run unless he chooses to audible. And you just have to make the best of what it is, you know. The coach is calling the plays on the sideline. You line up, and the play runs, and you can either hand it off to your running back or you can pass it to somebody on your team. The controls on this are amazing. It is pull back from your quarterback, and the farther you pull your finger back is how far he throws it, and it has a little throw line that you aim up with your receivers. Or you can tap it and give it to your running back and move him up and down the screen as he's running. It's all it all feels so right. I really, really enjoy this game. It does not have NFL teams, but it has NFL cities. So, which is legal to do. You can't say that the team's name is the Dallas Cowboys, but you can say that this team is from Dallas.
And they use the team colors too, including their home and away jerseys. So it's clever. That's very clever.
Yes, absolutely. So, and there's you can edit everyone's name on the team
if you register.
So, right. Yeah. So if you want to go through and change everyone's names to real life players' names, you have that ability. I don't personally. That kind of stuff doesn't matter to me. What did you think of this game, Aaron? Well, I know when you first saw it, you had to have been like, "Oh no."
Well, when I didn't know what to expect. To be honest with you, this game is it's very. Whoever I'm assuming this is maybe the soccer games are of a similar nature. I'm having not played them. But you could tell whoever made this was experienced at what works in the mobile world, because yes, you could probably emulate Tecmo Bowl and update it, and put it on the phone. But what do you got there? You've got really something that's sort of non-playable. What you've got here is you've got this is like a game that they were like, listen, we got to make a mobile game for Aaron. He doesn't want anything too deep. And he doesn't want anything too complicated or hard to control. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a football game, put some office elements in it, and almost like a role-playing element. And then we're also going to put in playing, but just barely. And then that's the game. And that's what they did. Unlike a traditional football, like say a TV sports football, you don't pick the plays. You can change the plays like I think it's 3 times in the game. And
it actually depends on the level of quarterback you have.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
The more levels of your quarterback, the more audibles he can call in a game.
You still don't get to pick the plays. It just picks another play when you do that. You don't do anything except if you hand off the ball, you just click on the runner or tap on him, and then he takes off, and then that's it. You don't run him. You don't put his shoulder. They don't do jack squat.
Well, you can move him up and down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you swipe up and down the screen, you can.
Well, I didn't even know that. I just let him take off. Yeah. He did great. I didn't have to do nothing. Can you control the receiver as well? Does he?
After he catches the ball, yes.
No kidding. I didn't even know you could do that. So that's
you can also dive. Yeah. If you just need a few extra yards, you can swipe. Down the stream.
I never did any of that, and I still
make him jump.
I played a complete season with Dallas. And I did great. And much like it was very realistic. Much like a Cowboys season, I did real well. Except I didn't have a huge blowout. I made it to the playoffs and got trounced in the first round. It was just like it was a typical Cowboys season. But what makes this game fun is the games take about 4 minutes to play, because they just cut out all the defense and they don't even show you graphical. They don't show you what's happening. You'll be sitting there and they'll be like, okay, San Francisco got the ball. They long pass. One of your guys was too slow. Touchdown, San Francisco. And it just tells you that. But what that information is it tells you how they scored. It tells you, it will basically blame characters on your team for why they scored. And then they score. And in some ways it's frustrating that you can't do anything about it when the other team just marches down the field and scores on you and wins the game in the last seconds. But it makes the game go by so fast. That's what you want, right? You've got 2 timeouts per half, so it's that you can play the clock. It's great. Not picking. If you told me it's like, listen, you're going to play a game where you don't pick the plays and you can't really control anyone hardly at all, I'd be like, this sounds like crap. No, it works great. And then when you get to the front office stuff, I don't think you touched on this nearly enough. Yes, you have drafts. You have people offering you trades and you can trade for draft picks. You have like all the time, my guys, in true Cowboys fashion, I'd have guys get caught with controlled substances, I had one guy who got caught taking pictures with a girl dressed as a cheerleader from another team. I had to discipline that guy. You'll have media events set up at the same time that the owner wants to talk to you. You've got to make a decision. Who am I going to make happy, the media or the owner? You got to keep the fans happy by keeping the stadium built up. You got to make the fans happy by making decisions they like. You also have to play to the fans' ego occasionally, be like, and thank them for making the win possible. Then you have to keep your team's ego up, because your team, they get deflated if they lose. They get deflated if they get in trouble. If you don't discipline a guy that does something wrong, the team gets mad. If you do discipline your star player, he might get mad. He might want to trade. You know, and this sounds super complicated, but it's not. It's just one screen. It says, you know, Bill Jones got pulled over by the police last night for being intoxicated. What are you going to do? You going to fine him or do nothing? And you know that Bill Jones might be your best player. And if you find this guy and he gets sadder, it's gonna affect him. It's gonna affect his play. You know, but you need this guy to be strong. That's that adds elements to it that you wouldn't suspect that you would enjoy. You also didn't touch on the field. You do kick field goals, and so there's an element of that, and that's pretty interesting too. By the way, my kicker was the first guy on my team that got in trouble. I find the heck out of that guy because he's a kicker. I'll replace you. You start off with I start off like with a dud team. I don't know if it always does. It's sort of at the end of the season, like the last game or two.
Yes, yeah, that's how you start.
It's a good way to start because you can feel like you're getting something done. I didn't find the game too difficult. It was another game that was really easy to pick up. It looked like it was going to be really complex, but it's not. We should also touch on the fact you also have to keep your offensive and defensive coordinator and your staff happy. You have to sign those guys to contracts. Again, this all sounds... If I was listening to me, I'd be like, this sounds too complicated. It's not complicated at all. It just sounds... There's a lot there, but it's not too deep. This is...
Absolutely.
This is my level of interest right here, like on a game.
And a few things that need to be stated. You actually pick... You can draft and trade for star defensive players too.
Right.
And it does affect, you know, when it says like blah, blah, blah was too slow, that's saying if that guy was faster, which you have the ability to train up as they level, he would have made that tackle and they wouldn't have scored that touchdown. It tells you where your defense is lacking.
Yeah, and that's something else
which is awesome.
Yeah, because as your players progress through the season, they will get better. And so you can, and then you can sort of pick, do I want them to be faster? Do I want them to be more sturdy? Also, your team, as that season goes on, they get more and more depleted. They're tired. They're beat up. Occasionally, guys will get injured. They'll be out for a game or 2 games for the season, and you've got to put the backup in. You can bench guys if a guy's not playing well, or like I had a guy that kept showing up late for meetings. Oh, I finally benched him. You know, because he had to, because he was disciplined. You know, you got to keep the team. I gave him 1 or 2 breaks, and I benched him. But all these little elements added. This game could not. If you just had the football game on this, it would not stand on its own. If you had the front office game in this, it would not stand on its own. If you had both these together, it's great. It's the perfect mixture. This is one of the most fun games I've ever played. Like, it's certainly on a mobile device. I mean, I like this way more than I like. I mean, comparing this to Doodle Jump's not really fair. They're 2 different types of games, but in their essence, their core is identical to one another, and that is to maximize the amount of enjoyment you can have in a short amount of time. Now, I will say this game. I was up till 2:30 last night playing this. And I didn't realize that it was 2:30. I didn't realize I'd been playing it that long. It's one of those games where you'll just play one more game, and you pose yourself. You can also, when you finish the season, you get all. If you're doing like I ended up going like I think 14-2. So I got offers to join other teams, like as a coach.
Yes.
So I did, which I didn't do, but I mean you could, and there were better teams. So that was cool.
When you go to the other team, it's kind of like resetting your progress.
Yeah, and you also have to. You can also pull guys in off the waiver wire if you've got enough. After every win or even loss, you get these little like coaching points. You know, and so if you get enough of those things built up, you can get a really good player. You also use the coaching points to like increase your rehab facility, your training facility, your stadium. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot going on, but I mean, listen, if you guys know me, if I could get into a game like this, it can't be that complicated. And I got into it in a big way. I thought this is one of the all-time great games we've ever covered, Brent. All time.
And Aaron, could you tell a difference between your star players and just your run-of-the-mill?
Oh yeah. Like I picked up a running back. I like to run the ball, and I was like, I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket. I picked this guy up, and he was a jerk too. He came in pissed off, and this guy was a human tank. Like he was awesome, and I rode him. That's how I got to the playoffs. So you could absolutely tell a difference. Your defensive guys, like I said, since you don't get to see what's going on, you could sort of forget about them, but you can't because it does tell you when they fail. Something else at the end of a game, it'll be like, listen, like Bill Smith had a crap game. Are you going to blame him or the team? So, because you're going to blame somebody. And so, if you blame the team, then the team's morale goes down. If you blame him, then Bill Smith gets madder and madder. I had one guy I had a really bad defensive lineman. It just kept sucking over and over. And so, after a while, I just blamed him every time. And his morale was in the garbage. But I was like, listen, you stink. Your morale shouldn't be high. You're no good.
So, I mean, we could go on and on about this game. Yeah. There's so many little nuances. I mean, playing the clock is a huge part of the game. Like, especially if you're playing someone with a really great offense and your defense kind of sucks, you need to keep them on the field as little as possible. Yeah. So, you end up running out of bounds or taking dives and trying to take as long. It's a complete package.
One thing I want to mention before you go on, this is the perfect game for someone that knows nothing about American football. This is the perfect, and I'm not saying it's going to teach you everything you need to know, but you don't need to know hardly anything to play this. If you know going forward good, giving up ball bad, you need score now, this is the game for you. If you've never ever cared about American football or watched American football, this game is perfect for someone, again, possibly because maybe this is a UK developer, and they had developed that with this game with that in mind. This is the perfect game because everyone understands the front office stuff. Everyone understands what happens if Jim Bob was out drinking too late last night, got put over by the cops, and you need to discipline him. You can figure that out pretty easy. But you don't need to know anything about pro football to play this. Not a lick.
Absolutely. And it eliminates. There is no penalties. It doesn't worry about all that.
That's
stuff.
all. It's all like it reminds me of how I run
concentrated
D&D.
gameplay.
Yeah. It's just like how I run D&D. Just basically the lightest conceivable rules. They don't.
So we have to talk about, Aaron, the cost of Retro Bowl.
All right.
In the very beginning, this game went off the demo system where you could play 5 games and then you would have to purchase the game. When the pandemic hit, they scrapped that. They said, you know what? If you want to play Retro Bowl for free, you can play it as long as you want. It does limit a few options, like you can't get the weather effects. The game has weather effects.
Yeah.
And you can't name the team, change the players' names, that kind of stuff. But the free version is still a very complete package.
Yeah, that's what I play.
It does have a nag screen. Every once in a while, I'll say, hey, if you're enjoying this, why don't you buy it?
Yeah.
The cost of this game, $1.
Yeah, I'm buying the heck out of this.
$1.
It's so cheap for this.
Now it does have the ability of microtransactions where you can buy the coach points.
That's lame.
I have never felt the need to do that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
If I was to do that, I mean, here's the thing: it doesn't throw it in your face.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that.
It doesn't sit there and say buy this, buy this, buy this. You could completely never buy anything. You wouldn't have any problem with the game. If I were to buy those points, it would not be to use in the game. It would be to give the developer more money because I think they deserve it.
I will say this game has a very clever gimmick, and this may be something that's done all over the place. Again, I'm not an Android guy. It said, listen, if you go on the website, if you go in like Google Play and review this, we'll give you X amount of coach points. And so I did
Yeah.
that, and it just linked you right over there. I left her a quick review, and I got 2 or 3 coach points for that. And I didn't mind doing that because it deserves a good rating. Overall, I think this is a real winner, Brent.
In the Google Play Store, this does have a 4.7 out of 5, with over 1 million downloads. So the game is doing well. One other thing I want to touch on, because I think this is important. It has 2 skill levels. You can either choose how hard you want the game to be, or you can put it on dynamic, where the better you do, the more tweaked it makes the difficulty. That's what it defaults to. Keep it on that, people. It's awesome. You don't want to win every game by a blowout.
Yeah.
You want the game to get harder as you get better. And it's a very, very good difficulty curve. It's very good.
Brent, let's go over our listener reviews for both these games. Let's start off with the reviews for Doodle Jump. We got quite a few this week. Rushi writes, light Doodle Jump, light addictive mobile title that effectively uses a motion-based design. One of the first games I got for my iPhone 3G, and I have nothing but the fondest memories of it. I downloaded it again for this week to see how well it plays after 10 years, and it seems like they made it a lot easier to get higher scores early on, but it's still the same. It's still the same addictive core that I have such a fierce nostalgia for, more than worth the entry price. I agree with that. Frodo on Doodle Jump writes, fun addictive game with decent graphics, especially with the selectable themes, but in the free version ruined by the constant loud video ads. Had it not been for a mate of mine having paid version, I might not have looked at this anymore. I bought this game though, since it was a nice way to spend a few minutes. Scored the free version 7 out of 10. For the paid version, which is 99p, 8 out of 10. I agree with that. I think, again, that price is so little, you sort of have to buy it almost. Lobsterminator writes, Doodle Jump was among the first and last mobile games that I got hooked on when I got my iPhone. However, that was many years ago. It was such a great showcase of the possibilities of mobile gaming with its intuitive, simple controls using the accelerometer. That's the word we were looking for, Brent. The ultimate toilet game. After that, I never really got any other mobile games, so I give it 9 out of 10 for being the only mobile game that got my attention. Chris Folds, if you will, writes, Doodle Jump. I got this not long after it came out and still have the occasional blast when out and about. The controls are perfect for the medium. It's addictive as hell, and I love the graphical style. 8 out of 10. Mitsuyama writes, this is the type of game is perfectly suited to be played on the phone. A simple but well-executed concept. The tilt controls work really well, and the charming graphics and simple sound add to the polish of the game. While the missions add some variation to the game, it's still the best played in 5 or 10 minute spells, which is perfect for a phone game. So there's your listener reviews for Doodle Jump. Let's have a look at the listener reviews we got for your game, Brent, Retro Bowl. And we got quite a few for this one as well. We've got, I went too far here. Frodo writes, not being a big American football fan, I have watched part of some of the Super Bowl games. I did not expect much from this game. After having played it for a while, though, I actually enjoy it way more than I expected. While there are of course some limitations because of the small screen and the lack of a controller, there's enough play here, and there's enough play with, and the graphics and sound are quite pleasing. The only thing that irritated me somewhat was the fact that the game regularly pushed the paid option. I saw that though. I bought the game. It was easily worth £1.09. 9 out of 10 for Frodo. I agree. I will say I didn't see that the screen popped up all that much, so I can't yell at him for that too much.
It's about every 3 games.
Mitsuyama writes, as someone who is not too familiar with the positions in American football and the roles they play, what the hell is a tight end, he asks. I thought I might struggle with this game. However, the game reduces some of the complexity and eased me in nicely. It strikes a nice balance between management and simulation in an arcade game. Having to only manage a maximum of 10 players plus 2 coaches in your roster is a great idea, and improves playability. The arcade portion of the game, when you play matches against rival teams, is well executed and fun, though I would have liked some ways to influence my defensive plays. The retro-inspired pixel graphics and music work really well. Completing a season will take some time, but the game can be easily played in 10-minute chunks, which again is perfect for a phone game. Those more familiar with American football may find it a bit shallow. However, it is perfect for someone like me. There is still some depth to the game that I have yet to fully explore, so I'll be coming back to this regularly over the next weeks. 9 out of 10. So those are pretty decent reviews, Brent, for both games. I think
shining reviews.
I think we got a couple winners, my friend. I think we got a couple real winners here. You know what else is always a winner? Never lets us down, Brent. It's me. Oh, and the wheel. Unless we both use the same joke. We let each other down. It's the wheel, Brent. Let's get it going. So, Brent, this week we added, we added the Mega Duck / Cougar Boy to the wheel. I don't know where you find this stuff, Brent. The Mega Duck. I'm looking over this board, Brent, and this is like it's just like walking through a minefield.
Oh yeah,
of pain.
We've had our good days. It's time to be punished.
Explain the boys, explain to everybody what's going on with these locked pieces, Brent.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm begging for a lock piece. If the lock piece gets spun, it will stay on the wheel, and it includes the TRS-80, the Atari 1200 XL, and the ZX Spectrum. So we're hoping for one of those this week. It'd be really nice.
Very good, very good. All right, I'm going to spin this sucker. Are you ready? Here we go. Oh! Here we go. The Game Gear, Brent. It's the Game Gear.
Oh, our Retro Rewind hit.
Holy smokes. So, the Game Gear, Brent. Do you remember when we covered this the first time?
No. Yes. No.
I don't remember either. I don't remember what we played on. So we probably go back and watch that episode. Hey, the Game Gear. It's funny looking at this wheel. That's one of the few safe choices that were available. I do apologize to all of our Mega Duck / Cougar Boy fans, but we'll hopefully get to that one at some point. All two of you. So, hey, Brent, you want to do some shout outs to the people in the chat?
Let's see if we got any lurkers still sticking around. We got a Bitstorm, a Brock 101. We got some Crunch Chip up in here. Gotta have some Crunch Chip. Velcro Funk.
Oh, bing!
And then some of our chatters. We've got Buck Owens, Picard, Frontier Gibberish. Gotta love that.
I love that.
Polyester Link, Frodo, Roushi. I know we had Duncan Styles, we had Picard, we had Mitz. I mean, just so many people this week.
Had a great turnout. All of our favorites. And anyone named Frontier Gibberish is okay with me, by the way. I'm a big fan of Blazing Saddles, and that particular character is great. I love that guy. So, let's put a cork in this sucker, Brent. We'll be back next week for more exciting action. This time around, it's Game Gear Mania.
We played Woody Pop and Ninja Gaiden.
Oh, yes. I remember, as I recall,
Thank you, Frodo, for that.
Woody Pop was garbage, wasn't it? Wasn't that yours?
I liked Woody Pop.
Okay, well, you don't know what you're doing. Thank you. Episode 47, for those interested. Frodo, Johnny on the spot. Let's get out of here, Brent. We'll see y'all next week. Until then, hut!
Thanks for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed the episode. We'd like to say hello to all of our YouTube subscribers, as well as all of our Twitch followers. We want to say a special thank you to Duncan Styles, who does all of our awesome Vectric graphics, and to BarkBit for writing our incredible closing theme. Would you like to help keep ARG spinning for as little as $1 a month? You can do so at anchor.fm/ARG-presents. Help keep us spinning. Just like these fine folks. John Deckman, Anthony Jarvis, Hermsky, Gary Heather, Graham W. Letke, Frodo NL, Chris Foles, John Schaller, Mitsuyama, Retro Algae, and Terry Howard. Don't want to explain another credit card bill? That's okay too. You can help us by leaving us a positive review on Apple iTunes and Spotify. Have an idea you'd like to add to the wheel? You can contact us at argpresents@mail.com. ARG films live on Twitch every Sunday, 9 a.m. EDT. Hope to see you there. Congratulations, Amigathon 2020, for raising over $5,000 to the Children's Miracle Network.